If your child has been identified with a disability or a developmental delay and is going to be eligible for special education services, we'll write an individualized education plan, an IEP. And when that's written then, we need to make a determination about where would be the best site for those services to be provided. With public preschool special education programs, and they're part of a federal law, the IDEA law, Individuals with Disabilities Education Act. And that law says that as much as possible, we want to make sure that children are educated alongside their peers with and without disabilities. So in Ohio, a public preschool special education program will by its definition be inclusive.
An IEP is an individualized education plan. A student might need one if they're qualifying for speech. They might have occupational therapy goals. They might have academic goals that they work on. It's specific to the child, and it talks about these are their deficits, these are their strengths, these are the goals that we're going to work on with that student specifically to bridge the gap from where a typical child is to where the child is right now and try and work towards filling that gap in.
Our preschool program here at Elmwood is very unique. We have 3 classrooms here. The occupational therapist, the speech therapist, and the physical therapist, and the intervention specialist, and our teachers are all one big team, and we work together very well. When the students come into preschool, we do a lot of questionnaires from parents just to kind of gauge what the students' interests are. And then as a preschool team, we kind of take those interests and put that into our lesson plans on a weekly basis.
Every year, we look to see what kind of goals they might need moving on. I try and get those goals with the right amount of support and hopefully exposure. We get them closer and closer and closer to being like a typically developing student so that when they leave our program, hopefully they exit their services. They no longer need an IEP when they go to kindergarten. And you walk into the room and you don't see them. You don't pick them out in a crowd. They don't need all that extra time and instruction.
Those students that do have communication needs, they're always needing peer role models, teacher role models, so they're hearing what they need to hear to help better their language skills. The peer model's role is to show others the proper way to share, the proper way to take turns, correct speech and language skills.
I don't feel my daughter being in a special education or inclusive classroom takes away from her learning or education. I feel this gives her a chance to be a good peer role model. She shows how to be independent with a lot of her skills. It shows how she can model the correct behavior. It shows how she can demonstrate to other kids that being a leader is positive.
There are many different supports and services that might be utilized by a program to help a child meet their goals and objectives. Some preschool special education programs might have access to a sensory room.
My role in the sensory room and the other specialist role in the sensory room is just we're offering that 5 to 10 minute break in the day to provide movement and to provide a calm, quiet place for students to come.
Any child can use a sensory room. It doesn't have to be a child with an IEP. It's the idea to provide a safe and welcoming space for students when they're starting to build themselves up into almost a meltdown or a crisis, and so they have that safe environment within the school. Students with an IEP, when they come into the sensory room, if we use the swing, if we use the ball pit, or if we roll them with our steamroller, it kind of helps provide some equal body pressure. The ball pit kind of feels a little bit like they're floating in space, so they kind of like that. And sometimes they just enjoy jumping, and then that hard foot pressure, they enjoy that as well. So we just kind of figure out what they need, and we provide a way to wake up their bodies and get them ready for the day.
And that's the key, is that it's always what works best for an individual child and whatever supports and services that child needs that we can utilize and put into place.
Social effect on the kids in the classroom, whether they be typical or on an IEP, so special needs, I don't think there's a difference with how they act around each other. I think at this age, everybody pretty much sees everyone as someone to play with. And I think it's a good example of how they can strengthen social skills by being in an inclusive classroom.
The integrated preschool program is important for the state of Ohio. It's teaching students at a very young age critical life skills that are going to build for the rest of their life so they can be an important member of society in the future.